We got you on here?
Get it.
All right. A little intro. So, hark and welcome to the Trial and Aaron podcast. I'm your host, Aaron. With me today, Chris Kays. Sir,
Pleasure.
welcome on the platform. Strong handshake, dude. I gotta give that a 10. Do you know Andrew Gonzalez?
Andrew Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He graduated in 2012?
I think so.
Yeah,
A
so
little bit later.
Sammy's brother?
Sammy's older brother.
Yeah, okay.
Just solid, like, handshake. It's strong, but it's not like, it's not trying to be in your face. It's not like right here. That's something that say a father, say whoever you're dating. That's something like, it's like, okay, this is a good guy. He's got solid, firm handshake.
I've always gotten some firm compliments on it for sure, but I did mess a dude's hand up once.
Did you?
I was expecting a lot more out of him, like he looked really manly dude. And
Big guy.
yeah, and I just like popped his knuckle, and he was like,
You
damn.
went that hard
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna squeeze it as hard as I can, dude.
because you're expecting something big, or was he like a fish?
What, like, was he like?
Like
limp
just
hand?
just nothing, like where somebody just doesn't give you anything
No,
in
he gave me a
return.
squeeze. I just like was like, all right, you look like you lift some steel.
You can take it.
Probably deadlift 400, so I was expecting a challenge, you know.
Nothing. Well, you also like you can't wither away in case somebody does give you something hard. But worst thing is like a finger grabber.
Oh yeah.
Like even and that's just it's so awkward. It's just like you
I
can't
redo
rip
those
her.
ones, you know, you gotta redo them. I'm like, no, we're redoing that.
Do you take a moment to step? Hey, let's get a rolling in there. Just kind of call it out.
Gotta get that webbing in there, you know.
I like that. Just
So you
like
cross arm and then you get
ooh,
that firmness there.
very good. Nice squeeze. You go couple shakes or just like one.
Couple shakes.
Couple shakes is good.
Yeah.
Got to know the person a little bit first before you start getting weird with it.
I don't know. I might not let go first though.
It's in case they're say like it's a friend and you're just getting weird, just staring at them.
Oh, yeah.
Just getting. Do you ever go for the Hercules handshake, just a solid
Oh yeah.
forearm
All
clasp?
the time.
Somebody's like in college, it would hurt like hell, but just going as hard as you can and just getting that slap of flesh, just your arms burning red afterwards. But it felt real, felt good.
Yeah.
But that's just we've come a long way since the forearm clasp. We need to bring it back though. But
Gotta bring it back.
but today, unfortunately, we're not talking about handshakes. But it is a good topic though. It's important.
Grip strength is important.
Grip strength. I'd say that's important in so many aspects of sports because I want to get into sports psychology. You're the head coach of the WHS track and field team. Is this your first year doing it as head coach?
Second year.
Second year as head coach?
I coached the JV football team too, so it's 2 years for both.
So how was that experience? Like going back, did you play football and everything in high school?
Yeah.
Was it hard like coming back and not like getting on the field to play? Because it's hard to go back and watch Friday Night Lights because I'm such a has-been. Just like I want to play so bad.
Oh man, it's tough. Yeah, you always have like those butterflies and those feels. Like every guy probably feels that after leaving the Friday Night Lights scene. You know, it's just like, damn, you feel everything, and you always will think.
Put this a little bit closer. No, you're good. You're good.
So they always like tell you you'll want to go back and do things over, like, and then you don't really listen to that when you're that young, and then afterwards you're like, oh yeah, I would have done so much more. But
Absolutely.
I love coaching. It's so fun. I have a good connection with all the kids. I'm young, so like I'm 24.
I was gonna
so
say you're.
they relate to that a
Yeah,
lot.
you speak the language.
I run routes and I teach it, so that's like what I do on the side. So they actually see me do it. I'm not like sitting on a chair or walking as I'm telling them to sprint. Like I do a lot of stuff with them. I try to like juke them out at practice. It's such a fun time.
I'd say you're probably more athletic than the majority of the team from outside looking in. Like
No-
you still
no-
got lead in your pencil, speed. Your
doubt.
personal trainer too. I've seen you out there on the track. Just
I'm still faster than every
Footwork.
single one of them.
Let's
Like
go.
it's always good to like really push them. And like I always tell them, like, dude, I'm 24, so like, you know, that's not like to rub it in you. It's just like it really pushes you though. You have someone that can run like a 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. and
Goddamn.
They're like not quite there yet, so they get to know what it feels like.
I'd want to go in and do like a combine just to see where I'm at. Like run the 40, do the shuttle drill. Like I don't have like breakout speed, but some quick footedness. Like those are always my favorite kind of drills.
I love it.
And then-
Combine's a fun time for me. That just happened.
Did you do it,
No.
or just watching the athletes?
We did like some mock combine like at the high school, and it's like hand time 40s, stuff like that. So some things are actually accurate, like the med ball throw, the broad jump, the vertical jump. But when you hand time a 40, it's gonna make a lot of people feel good.
Yeah.
They're gonna feel faster. So like,
That track, that newly done rubber track, that's a game changer. Because I just remember when it was all dirt, which was classy, winters, But that rubber track it's freaking awesome.
It really is like in our league, the nicest track. Like when you go and step on them, it has the most bounce. It's been kind of the least used. So, yeah, that old dirt track, people would ride their bikes on it, stuff like that. So that would always create indents. It was never even, super hard. And it was actually, I thought it was bad when it was hard and dry because you got shin splints. But honestly, it's even worse when it rains. Like when we had a really big, what is it, El Nino?
El Nino.
El Nino.
Yes. But Shuttleworth would not cancel track either. No, practice would never be canceled. I just knew, like, even if the dam broke, you guys would slosh through the water. I just knew, like, that's why it kind of surprised me that your track meet was canceled the other day.
All right.
I was like, rain doesn't stop track.
It was because it was up in Paradise and there was going to be expectations of lightning. Otherwise, they'll keep it going.
All right, I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, that old track was tough. But when it rained, like it was so hard to run on it without ruining shoes. So we had one year when I helped with coaching in track, and Jules DeMay was the head coach. Like it was so hard to get any practices on the track. Majority was in the gym or the weight room.
Yeah, I mean, still like core strength, body strength, all that definitely plays a part. I think like in overall speed and just track. When I think about it, it's kind of the OG form of athleticism. Who's the fastest? Who can jump the highest? Who can jump the furthest? Who can throw the big rock the furthest? It's like classic athleticism.
I had a lot of kids join this year that just didn't know what track was. They just thought like you go out there and run miles and that's like cross country. But I'm like, no, there's various sprints, there's various distances, there's jumps, and there's throwing. Like you can diversify it a lot. I think if there's any athlete that doesn't do a spring sport, they should do track. Like especially when you look at the big advantage that people get on speed training, because I know for a fact all of my football players that don't do track right now, which isn't a lot, they're not doing anything over a 40-yard sprint in the off season. Like they're probably not going to go out in the field and do sprints because they just don't think of it as training. They just think if you're fast, whatever. Or some of them think you can just squat and get fast. But you know, these kids now doing workouts where it's like 400s, 300s, 200s at a full sprint, you notice such a drastic difference when you go back to football conditioning after doing speed training like that. Because when you have to do repeat 50-yard sprints, that's just like a light day for track. For football, that's hell. But
it's just such different types of athleticism. Where, like, say a distance runner, you look at them, they're a little scrawny, but their endurance is just insane. But sprinters are just muscle bound, fibers are just popping out of their skin. And it's just cool to see. Just, yes, all under the track umbrella, but so many different flavors of it. And football, Ward one time had us do swimming. It was funny watching Dylan A just drown. Shout out to Dylan A, just drowning the guy, but just full of muscle. But it's just so hard to take guys who are just land creatures and toss them in the water for that different type. Have you ever done swim team or anything like that?
Yeah, my mom was a college swimmer, so it was like
no shit.
I had to go into it. Yeah,
that might be all due respect to the track and field. Swimming was probably the hardest kind of conditioning because you can only breathe so much, and if you're tired, you're either on the lane line, you get yelled at, or you drown, and it's just a wild form of just conditioning, I'd say.
You need a lot of aerobic endurance, and you know, it's actually interesting that like some swimmers don't actually have a super high lung capacity because of all the sports in the Olympics. You'll notice that a lot of the athletes have a commonality in their sort of like their nasal structure and their facial structure.
And what would you say that is?
Like wider nostrils and a wider frame up here where the sinus cavities are. It's not as elongated, which is what's more common now with mouth breathing. Like this, we lengthen our face as opposed to widening it like we should. And those are, but like with swimmers, they have to mouth breathe. You can't really nose breathe in between breaststroke, butterfly, freestyle.
You never see a...
Just snort chlorine, dude.
Or you get like water, just a random wave, you just take it, swallow it, and then you're just drowning while trying to. It's miserable at times, but. And
they have to breathe a lot too, so their breathing is just so different from any other athlete. Where like a sprinter, you want to the keys with breathing is you want to mainly breathe through your nose, and you want to breathe out slower, and you want to breathe less. You don't actually want to breathe more. So like a swimmer, sometimes they just have to constantly bring in more for holding their breath and whatnot. Some people might not take the breath and just go a few strokes without, like on a butterfly,
Yeah.
they may not actually take a breath every stroke. They might go 3 or 4 without taking a breath because it just wastes time and they're trying to knock off milliseconds.
It's less drag, and I don't know, to have a big lung capacity would be great, but does breathing more take more energy to do so, especially like if you're sprinting, or is it just
ultimately like you just don't actually absorb oxygen when you breathe in, you absorb it when you breathe out. It's the CO2 that helps offload it and get it into the actual tissues. So if someone just keeps doing this, they're not actually absorbing it. It's just kind of overfilling. There's hyperoxidation. There's just too much oxygen. We get lightheaded, things like that.
Is that bad for us? I've asked different people, because we're going to get into Wim Hof, of just that kind of aggressive breathing technique where you do feel lightheaded. Is that saturating yourself with oxygen, or is it you're depriving yourself of it?
So in that sense, you'll notice that at the end of it, there's a long haul where you have no air in your body, and that's when you're holding it. So you are bringing a lot of oxygen into the body, and it's not necessarily like they are forcing out air. So like if somebody starts exhaling faster, that's when they're absorbing less total oxygen and it gets overwhelming. In Wim Hof, it's like you don't force it, you just let go, and he'll say that a lot in his videos. So if you do it like that, you're not forcing it, which would end up being hyperventilation, excessive, more breathing than needed. It could be good. I've played with it a lot of different ways. Like for me, clearly that's the type of style you would do. You bring in a lot of oxygen, it gets into your lung tissue and even your muscle tissue, and then when you just hold it out, you're able to go a lot longer. I mean, the first time I ever did that, I was already usually able to hold my breath for a minute. I did that for about 75 seconds, no problem, and I just kind of stopped. I wanted to keep going. And then the second round, I think I went like 90, and then I got close to 100 seconds on the third round, just the first time trying it with a good kind of base of endurance. So I think it's valuable for people, because like obviously if we can go comfortably without having to gasp air back in like that, it can pay off. So I think that it's something sprinters could do before going into a race. Doing a few rounds of Wim Hof, build up some more oxygen in the tissue, and just get a good little buzz going, and then go out there and kill it.
That'd be a like solid intimidation factor. Just your athletes just laying down, just going hard, and like right before, like, all right, let's go. Just kind of.
Especially if you add in the eye exercises where you're like looking at the third eye, you know, it's like.
It's just like have their eyes rolled back in their head. It's like, oh shit. The trippiest thing is I've only ever done one round of Wim Hof. It's just maybe before bed just to relax. But the trippiest thing, at least for me, is how long you can sit after he's just stop. He has such a comforting voice too.
Oh, yeah.
You're just laying there, and I don't feel the need to breathe. I could sit there, and I've heard him talk about it. You can go minutes at a time where you don't even need to breathe. Is that just because there's so much oxygen still flowing in like your blood, and you're able to?
Exactly. It's just like there's enough residual oxygen that it can just last longer. And if you can stay calm, you burn less oxygen, you use less energy, so it kind of helps it. It's important to never be forceful with it. Like when you're ready to breathe in right away. Most important thing I think with doing that or any breathing exercise is make sure people don't do it when driving. Don't do it.
Hell no.
Don't do it near a body of water. And even if you're standing like by a pool, sitting by a pool, in a bathtub especially, saunas I wouldn't do it either. Just anything where if you pass out you risk drowning or falling off a ledge, for example. There have been people that have passed away from things like that.
That sucks.
And yeah, so rest in peace to all those people that experienced that. They're probably trying to just better themselves, and you know that happened.
Just a fatal mistake that you're unable to learn from. That definitely sucks. And it's what you said about, I know this is a little bit of a diversion from what we're talking about, but staying calm burns less oxygen. That's huge. Deep sea divers or free divers of just say there's a shark or like whatever, you're not sure which way is up, staying calm literally saves your life. So you can make it, or there's like belts now that can like inflate or something, but keeping your cool beyond just being underwater can definitely I feel like it's good to have your shit together, so to speak.
calm is better than anything. Just in anything in life too. Like, really, there's no need for being like, I guess, what would you say, tense, anxietal in a moment. Like, trying to calm it down is always going to be better. You'll be more productive. Will flow better.
It's hard when you got oxygen going through your veins. Say you're about to do your 100-yard dash or just one lap sprint or something like that, and you're just amped up, ready to go.
I mean, I have done it before sprinting, and I think doing like that and even just regular diaphragmatic slow breathing is good, but doing specifically 1 or 2 rounds of Wim Hof before sprinting, I notice immediate improvements in how well I can handle it.
Is this like breathing, or are these lessons you're teaching your what are track athletes, players,
track athletes?
So it's like, what kind of lessons are you teaching them, trying to calm them? Because you're kind of like, my dad was a basketball coach for about 25 years or so, and you're something of a mentor as well. You're not just a coach, you're there for them at this pivotal point in their life, teenagers, high school. What have you brought to the table for the track and field team?
Well, breathing is something I talk about all the time. There is a Chinese proverb that is like one of my favorites: the breath is the bridge between mind and body. And when I think of that, I got a good visual too. You know, like when I first read that, it's like, okay, bridges come in all sorts of forms. You know, we have our old train bridge that used to be looking much different. It looked a lot worse. You could have rusted metal, you could have brand new steel metal, you could have cement, or you can have like those Indiana Jones bridges, right? Where it's just like rocky and cracky.
the rickety like wooden ropes and
just
shit.
Sketchy. So if I had to compare that type of sketchy bridge would be mouth breathing, breathing too often, and breathing into your chest. So those can feel good because they lift up some adrenaline and whatnot and give you a little boost, but that's what we want to avoid throughout the day. You want to actually breathe deep into your diaphragm and your belly. You want to try to breathe through your nose for an array of reasons. So I like to share that quote with my athletes: football, track, whatever it is, the breath is the bridge between mind and body. Like, anything can kind of be channeled or controlled through the breath if you learn how to use it right. I don't think of it as a weapon, it's just like a tool. It's your tool. So when we do warm-up laps, I don't force them. I just encourage them, hey, if you guys want to try this lap with water in your mouth, it's going to force you to breathe through your nose. At any point, you can spit it out if you don't feel good, but you could also slow down if you have to. So I have a lot of kids that still do that, if not all the time, occasionally. They'll run a lap with the water in their mouth, and they say it helps. Like,
really?
Day to day, they say they notice much more improvement with how longer they can go without kind of overdoing it. They say that their breathing throughout the day can feel better, or at least following track practice. They say they feel their stomach more when they breathe because you kind of have to. And they say it helps when they run their 400s to breathe through their nose more.
How long's the 400s? One lap?
One lap.
One lap. That one sucks. Is that the MFer of all the, say, the events at a track meet? Because that's, you're not holding anything back. That is just one lap. Set your hair on fire and go for it.
Yeah.
Or are there any worse?
I would say it's the 4. Pretty much everybody will tell you the 4, but when you get like to the Olympic level and the collegiate level, they'd say the 8 because they're just so like next level in that like kind of type 2B muscle fiber that's built for a little longer endurance. Like they're running close to what those 400-meter guys are running for 2 laps. So
that is insane.
It's hard to say that that's not the hardest when they're running at that same pace, and you watch them after, they're all just like,
there's nothing left.
Dead. You know, 400s, even the world records, like they're tired as hell after, but they recover a little quicker than the 800 guys. But I would say for high school, 400 for sure.
What's like some of the fastest times you've seen like a high schooler do for a 400?
So for boys, I guess the record here was, I think, probably Connor Butts with like I wanted to say he might have broken 50. Like, if you break 50,
are you kidding me?
I think so. He was between 49, 51. My personal best was a 52. I hated it. I could have probably been really good at it, but I didn't want to do it.
Just burned and hurt too much?
Yeah, my dad was a good 400 runner. Like, back in the day, he ran like 52, 53, which was really good at the time for a high schooler.
Yeah.
Now the world record's like 43 something, dude. It's ridiculous.
Is it crazy seeing how like athletes were solid back in the day, somewhat better, tougher, but just seeing how athletes have evolved over the decades. Just say comparing basketball athletes to say Jordan's era or whatever in the 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The games themselves have changed a little bit, but the sheer athleticism, they're freaks of nature. It's like, how is it possible for them to like elevate and stay elevated, to be as fast, to be as coordinated, even in the NFL too?
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to keep up with that? How are you supposed to keep up with this 350-pound lineman who's running you can run that 52, 40 probably. Or
he probably could. I mean, that's harder for him, being such a big body. It's already so impressive that dude ran a 4.5 something. Just insane how he was moving. For someone of that big of a frame to try to do a full lap, though, it's much harder.
That'd be tough.
That'd be really tough. He could probably still do a really good time, though. But, it's crazy, just like one generation, what can happen. Like, if for me, like my dad is about 6 foot and my mom's 5'3", so I'm 5'11", which is
Mom's 5'3"?
Yeah.
Tiny little thing.
Like, she says like just under 5'4", but 5'3" for sure.
I'll give it to her.
So I'm glad I'm 5'11", because it could have been like as low as 5'8",
Mm-hmm.
But if just say my mom was 5'7", I'm easily a 6-footer with the potential to be 6'3". So nowadays you just have so many more people that are like, just think of like college athletes that going to college, a football player that's like,
oh yeah,
6'6" to 6'8", and then you have a basketball player who's easily over a female basketball player, softball player, whatever,
absolutely,
easily over 6 foot. That's a monster right there in height.
You're just
get a
breeding these Viking children.
And I'm not gonna lie, like people actually, that is a thing that people have done. Like there's guys that quest out to seek a woman of a certain height that's an athlete so they can have athlete childs, and I'm sure that's what the Ball brothers.
Oh god, the dad.
Yeah,
LeVar, that wild man. They're studs though, dude. To go 3 for 3. The Gronkowskis, the Watts.
Yeah.
Just look at these studly families that they breed greatness. They breed champions. The Mannings, I don't know if they're the biggest and strongest, but I mean, there's something in that type of athleticism to where they're able to play at that next level.
They got a nephew right now that's going crazy. He's the #1 recruit in the nation, Arch Manning.
Yeah.
He's going crazy. I think throwing is something that can be genetically, like it can be in there genetically.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing's like a big part of our human evolution and our success in hunting and stuff like that. So some people might have had more exposure to throwing over many, many, many generations. So maybe they were just chucking spears 100 yards to kill boar and stuff.
There's just two cavemen just like commentating. Oh, look at Unc Bonk, just perfect spiral, just like just right through the head, killed the saber-toothed tiger. It's funny, like your quote was awesome about the breath being the bridge between mind and body. There's so many philosophies around just breathing, and it's something that we do subconsciously, and to control it, kind of, since we don't think about it, when we do start thinking about it, it's a game changer. It could change your mood if you're enraged, just taking, say, 10 deep breaths or something. What do you have, like a personal philosophy on breath of how one should do it, just to be more acknowledgeable? Respect it more, acknowledge it more. It just seems like you're very in tune with what breathing can do for us.
Another thing that kind of goes into more of like Ayurvedic proverbs was that like yogis, some yogis, not all, believed that we were given a set amount of breaths in our lifetime, and that to immediately enhance longevity was to just slow your breath down. And they thought that whether it was like by fate or just by keeping yourself healthy, that breathing slower, it made you make better decisions, which kept you out of harm, more than likely. And just breathing slower has so many other health benefits to it, but breathing slower would give you more life. That
makes so much sense. It seems like such a simple concept, but that absolutely makes sense.
Have you heard of the book called The Breath? It's a longer title. It's like The Lost Art and Science of Healing or something like that, by James Nestor. He was the guy that was on Rogan, he's like the breath guy. He was pretty good. He's really informative. He's done lots of diving into stuff from the past, but his whole summary with that book is essentially that we need to nose breathe and minimize and just try to eliminate mouth breathing from our just agenda.
What's the benefit of, say, nose? Because I've heard that the nose hairs helps filter out whatever ickiness is out there or what have you, but what is it about nose, in the nose, out the mouth that is so preferable?
So much. So those hairs help with keeping things from getting further down, and eventually mucus can engulf it, and it can get brought into your stomach and emulsified by stomach acid, or you could blow your nose and get it out. So it just helps it from getting to where your throat is and getting respiratory and throat infections and sinus infections. It also heats the air. So when you heat air, it's going to create more flow of movement for like mucus. When we breathe through our nose, we have specific receptors, nerve receptors, that stimulate nitric oxide production. And so literally breathing through your nose stimulates nitric oxide. Breathing through your mouth shuts it down.
What is nitric oxide doing for us?
Nitric oxide, primarily, it's going to increase circulation, increase vascularity, help everything flow better, get that blood flowing.
Get veiny. Some Ronnie Coleman shit.
Yep.
Where did you learn all this stuff? You're just kind of like this encyclopedia of just health, wellness, exercise. I mean, we've done a couple articles together for the Winners Express. Shout out the Winners Express.
Shout out Winners Express, baby.
Is this just research you've done over the years? It's just, I can't help but tell you're a little passionate about this stuff.
A little bit. It all kind of began, I guess, my 8th grade year. I played football. That got me back into sports after like a hiatus of being a skater and a little punk kid.
Oh, there you go.
And then, so I got back into like having structure in sports, and then I really just wanted to get bigger, because I was like always fast, but like I was the smallest kid. I was 5'2" and like 115 pounds in 8th grade. And so I really just kind of looked up things about training, like how do I get stronger, bigger. I trained like Bruce Lee a lot, like basically isometrics, take towels, pull them apart. I did sprints because I didn't like distance running, so thank God I did that. It helped. But
were you all sprints when you did track and field?
And I did high jump and long jump, but mainly sprints. Yeah. And then I just got really, I started diving in tough to asking questions. I had a cousin who was a strength and conditioning coach. I had a mentor who's like a friend. He's basically like my uncle, but he's a family friend, who did powerlifting competitions. So he taught me a lot about powerlifting. Once I got into Old School Iron in Vacaville, have you ever heard of it?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well he actually was like a part owner in the beginning with them, and then he eventually had to leave because of work. But as they're making this gym, as it's starting out, I was working out on the platforms, and he was showing me how to deadlift and stuff. So I got a good feel for training, and I wanted to learn more. So I mean, for years in high school, it was just like looking up bodybuilding forums like T Nation, Catalyst Athletics. There was this one called Anabolic Minds, which majority of what they recommended was like steroids and stuff and cycles.
Just a little bit.
And once I saw that, because I was never about that, I've always seen steroids as consequential, not beneficial in any means. Like to me, it's like a light bulb just popping eventually. You don't get that natural production anymore, and it's done. And
look at Ronnie
unhealthy.
Coleman, man.
Yeah,
like it's just to live that. I mean, he's still lifting, of course, but it's just to see even people don't even live that long because of steroids. Say they get a bubble in the needle, or they go crazy and get tossed in jail. Or the worst. Do you know who Chris Benoit was? Like professional wrestler, just offed his family and himself. Just
that guy,
crazy roid rage that had like his blood levels were just off the charts of just how much was in his system, which is super unfortunate. But say that type of athleticism, to maintain that body image, it's like, how do you not use steroids to do that? Or if you wanted to be a Mr. Olympia, it's like you have to use steroids to get to that next level.
Yeah, that look is really, unless someone puts decades in and starts young and like really is just super disciplined, I think people can look close to that. Like, not a lot of people are going to be able to get over 204. I mean, it all depends on your height too, but like 240 pounds of muscle frame is hard without a long time of dedication towards it. Whereas steroids, the interesting thing with steroids is like they don't actually just make you bigger. They just really help you recover faster so that you can train more often. So like they still got to do all that work that goes into it. They're working out 3 times as much, but
you're just burning your body out quicker when it's
One of the big things that people don't think about is the heart tends to overgrow. So a lot of them get hearts that are 4 times the size of what it should be, and it just stops, and it's a horrible death because they just choke on their blood.
Oh my fucking god!
So if there's any,
so don't do steroids, huh?
Yeah, don't do steroids.
Don't do it. You won't make it to the Hall of Fame either.
Right.
They'll get you.
But like anabolic minds was like something I looked up. Basically, one thing I was also interested in as a freshman was like, how do I get taller? Like, how do I maximize my height potential? And
how does one do that?
How does one do that? Is there a way, right? And ultimately, there was some decent advice on a forum that said, like, well, in the body, what makes you grow is typically human growth hormone. It converts to insulin growth factor 1, and then that leads to bone lengthening. And there's a set limit of how much you can grow. It typically falls between 2 and 4 inches. So you put in your parents' height. It'll give you an estimate, but that doesn't mean it's set. It means you could be 2 to 4 inches under or over that height typically. So I really wanted to try to be 6 foot because for
that's
a lot
the benchmark though. It feels like 6 foot these days.
Because you know, for me it was like with football. Because if I was interested in wanting to maybe do football after high school or some sport, like nobody wants a guy that's under 6 foot. That's what you kept hearing. But I've definitely broken past that belief now. Like there's plenty of guys.
Look at Wes Welker. Look at some of the freak athletes who are under 6 foot and are just killing it.
So like they basically just gave a list of things. They said like, you know, sleep is where 90% of your human growth hormone is secreted. So I'm like, okay, sleep. Like what do I need to know else about sleep? Like, well, it's important to not eat right before bed because it's released in the beginning. So you typically should give yourself at least 90 minutes, but sometimes as much as 2 hours to digest before going to bed. So you can really optimize the human growth hormone output, which is also known as like the longevity hormone, the beauty hormone. It's really good for our bodies. And so I also looked at, you know, minimizing my carbs, which wasn't necessarily the best thing. I needed those at the time. So I was like really strong, really cut, but I was not getting bigger muscle-wise like I wanted, but saw other benefits. So then I also started getting into like taking individual amino acids on an empty stomach. I would do that before bed. You can take things like arginine, lysine, glutamine, ornithine. These are all things that you pretty much can take in conjunction with each other too, and combining them leads to typically more increase. So that was something I did throughout high school for that specific purpose of trying to just make sure I optimize it.
And do you saw results and everything? I mean, you're not 5'2" anymore.
Not 5'2", that's for sure. Yeah, and you know, 2 years ago I broke a foot and I still wasn't done growing, but that doesn't mean like I have another inch. I probably have like that much left.
Hey,
like,
be ready for it. Take everything you can get.
So like even at like 23, my growth plates weren't done yet, so they can actually stay open for some people as long as 28.
I'm hoping for 32. I still I'm the shortest one in my family, other than my mom, but she might hit growth spurt at 60. That one, I forget the guy's name. It was on Rogan, but that episode they did talking about sleep scared me to get at least 7 hours every night. Anything less of just how beneficial it is for you and just how much our body needs to sleep.
I would have been his poster boy back in high school. I mean,
how many hours were you? What was your high school? How little did you sleep when you're?
No, I mean, like I would have been like a good example for him because I was sleeping. I was in bed by 8:30 every night.
In high school?
9:30 max. Like I didn't want to. If there was anything involved with going out during the week, I was like, nah, it's gonna mess with my sleep. I mean, it really was. If I can compare now, where I'm
savage,
not as good at sleeping as I was, or committed, and I do other things like drink some beers occasionally to throw it off. Like that was like a drug back then. Like
the sleep?
It was sleep. Like I would wake up so euphoric. I couldn't sleep past 9 hours unless I had some crazy football game and a powerlifting session. Like my body was just so kind of regimented to go to sleep at 8:30 to 9:30 and wake up at 7, like no later. I didn't want to sleep in.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad too. Like I thought I should sleep more because I have friends that can sleep till like 3.
It's because they're staying up till
3.
That's just. But some people can just sleep more. I think some people's bodies also are just. Some people only need that 3 hours of sleep. Arnold Schwarzenegger has sleep faster to get more stuff done in the day. But if you're half cocked, if you're half sailed trying to get stuff done because you don't have enough sleep, you're killing yourself.
Yeah, I'm totally not with that motto of like sleep less, get more done. Like
no fucking way.
When you can compare what 3 nights of getting 8 hours of sleep is compared to one night of 5 hours, like, oh my God, like I would take one of those 8-hour days over 3 of those 5-hour days any day. I feel better. I'm more productive. I want to do things more. It's not like just I have to. And it's just so nice to be able to wake up and not feel like you have to stay in bed. That's a unique feeling.
It's great. Like mentally, you're not, because you're also mentally exhausted all day. You're physically tired, and then you're just telling yourself, oh, I'm just dog shit today. I can't do anything else as good as I can. I think it definitely affects you psychologically. At least for me. I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
I've just, anything less than 7 hours, just, oh, fuck me. Can't do it. Relying a little too much on coffee these days. But nice little cat nap in the afternoon, though. Are you a nap fan?
Sometimes.
Little 20 minutes.
Only if I get a bad night's sleep, I'll aim for a small one. Because it seems like there's not a lot of evidence that shows whether it's bad or good. It seems like short naps of 15 to 30 minutes are better, whereas like if you take a 2-hour nap, it can really throw you off.
Fuck that. That will completely throw off the rest of the day.
Yeah, I always feel good after them, and it doesn't throw off my sleep that much that night. So I'll sleep, and like if I have a free time, I'll usually try to sleep. Sometimes I'll meditate, and if it leads to me getting tired, I'm like, all right, I'll take that sign.
Why not?
I'll go do it.
Just going with it.
I will say, when I don't drink coffee though, like coffee has a big crashing effect, and caffeine in general has a big crashing effect. Like coffee actually makes me want to take naps, like, because I'm done by like 10 or 11 drinking it, and if I stop, then that's what leads to a good crash.
And then nap time.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to wean myself, because I would go in the past C4 in the morning just to get going, get ready, and then that crash will happen around noon. A little coffee will fix that. It'll give my body caffeine instead of the nap that it's begging for. But sleep, we can agree, is just, that's the best kind of energy you can get. What's your sleeping regimen these days?
I'm pretty good about going to bed between 9 and 9:30, because I wake up at about 5:30, sometimes 5, like every day. So
get exercise in, or what you doing in the morning?
We do morning weights at 6:30 for the football team. I do that in the off season.
All right.
It's great, because I get to work out with them. It really holds me accountable. Gets my day started earlier. I'm more productive.
That is true. Not just doing it solo, which might be a lot of people's bane when they're trying to exercise. There's no one there to like, hey, let's go, let's get it. Instead of yourself, when you might not always be there for yourself.
Yeah, and depending on the numbers, like I don't actually get to train that good in there. I do really short snippets of exercise. A lot of times, like mobility and a few jump rope sets. But
are you just helping them out as they're lifting?
Because I can't watch a kid round his back. I'm just like, fuck. And then I'm like, after 5 minutes, it's like gotta warm up again. So I'm always like head hunting on form and technique in there and making sure it's like spot on.
You can hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Even basic little workouts. What's I've been meaning to ask you, what's it like coaching compared to playing? Like seeing these guys go through the experience that you went through, and going from a player to a coach now. How's that transition been?
I mean, I loved playing. Like, I still think if I got bigger, like I could play on a practice squad for like an actual football team. That's something that like can't leave me. Like I haven't been able to let that go.
Would you ever like consider signing up like Solano League or something like that, or playing for the college? Seeing where it goes.
I mean, like actually trying to join an NFL practice team.
Yeah, just walk on
for a season. You got to do tryouts, and they still get paid, but it's no easy job. It would suck, no doubt. But it'd be a cool experience, and that would just something like that would give me more credibility if I did that. But comparing playing and coaching, I really like coaching. I knew I was going to do it from pretty much high school on at some point, and I got started really soon. So, I mean, my job, even outside of like coaching sports, is I'm a strength coach. I coach adults in various walks of life. So, I don't know, it's just like they're a canvas. Their mind, their body, how it performs is all a canvas, and I get to give them feedback, cues, whether it's visual, auditory, I'm describing something. It just kind of, once you see it click, it's addicting. You're like, how much more can we get? Because I have kids right now that would just be, not starting by any means. Like, and in one session, it can just like make so much click, and they just look like a stud.
Are you just getting off on that? Like, not in a weird way, but just like, let's go. That's the juice of just seeing that aha moment.
I live for it. Yeah,
that's
love
sick.
it.
And you knew you were going to coach in high school as well?
I mean, I always knew, like, kind of watching my cousin coach me, having so many good strength coaches. I was so blessed to have my cousin, our family friend. That's two right there that gave me a wealth of knowledge. There was a guy we had named Butters, David Butterworth. He was just like Buff Jesus 2.0.
Buff Jesus, let's
fucking
go.
8-pack. He looked like he's like about 230 or so, you know. And
you see those like Buff Jesus like pictures, just breaking off the cross, just shredded.
You know, they've all helped me in kind of different ways. He was just cool because he really helped me bring my ego down. He just did all this He did all this cool shit with jumping on boxes, lifting plates. He could plank like 250 for a minute, and he just had to stack the plates on him. And I really embody his kind of style, what he taught me now. I could give that a lot to him.
Were you a little arrogant in high school, or get a little cocky with what you could do?
No, not in that sense. I was never cocky or like...
or he kept you from getting too cocky? Kept you humble with the workouts.
Yeah, I guess all you could say, like how men tend to like be very hard on themselves more than anything. You know, men they don't give themselves enough credit sometimes. Sometimes they give them too much credit, but that's like what we usually think of as ego. But we could be like really self-destructive and down on ourselves about certain things.
Absolutely.
And he really brought me into like just being more holistic in health. Never saw him get mad or angry, so he was always just super calm and collected. And that's when I started to try to embody more of that calm and collected feeling. You know, not being offended by things too is a big thing. Like they would say goofy shit all the time about his like I don't know, his style of workouts, which to me I thought was kind of rude, but he would just like rub it off, be like, all right, well, whatever. And
like
so
you guys.
Yeah, he was a cool dude. Put me on to a lot of good game for nutrition, mobility, exercising with good quality, really trying to like look at the things I'm weak at and fix those, because you know, like you're only as strong as your weakest link type thing.
People taking it sounds like you can take constructive criticism, which is something that's people like, oh, you're being mean, or you're trying to downplay me or something like that, when in reality sometimes people are just trying to help and sincere and being very sincere about it.
Right.
And just the way you kind of, from the sense I get of how you're approaching mental and physical wellness, it reminds me of my buddy John, who was a trainer in Runner Park when I lived over in Sonoma. And what he would do before even the first training session, ask him what's going on in your life, what are your stressors, what's plaguing your mind, and unlock what's going on mentally, because it coincides so hand in hand with the physical wellness. Like if I miss a day exercising, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit fatter, or just whatever. It just sounds like you really hone in on mental, emotional, and physical wellness, because we're wrapped up all in it the same. And I don't know, there's nothing like some endorphins to pick you up after a bad day.
Right. I think it's important. Yeah, I ask my clients a lot how they slept. You know, did they sleep good? Did they sleep poorly? Because that'll dictate how I train them. If I had like a heavy deadlift session or something planned and they got a poor night's sleep, then it doesn't mean we don't have to do deadlifts, but we're not going to go as heavy.
Right.
We don't need to whelm up your nervous system.
Just chock them full of C4 or some Jack. People call it Jack 3D. You call it Jack 3D or Jacked?
I just called it Jacked. I remember that old formula. Oh yeah.
The first time I took it, I remember seeing tunnel. I think when they still had meth inside of it or whatever.
Tunnel
vision. I was itching like, this is amazing. I was like Super Saiyan, the closest I've ever felt. Do you do any pre-workout or just straight adrenaline?
I do. Sometimes, not that often. As I've gotten off of caffeine more, I've kind of developed more like that sensitivity to it again somehow. Like I just start to notice I feel better without doing a bunch of caffeine.
Yeah.
I try to cut my limit, which is still pretty high, to like 300 or 400 milligrams max. That's a high day. 200 is like an average. 100 would be light. So occasionally, yeah, I'll do pre-workout. If I wanted to lift heavy, I'll do pre-workout. The stuff that makes you itchy in pre-workout is called beta-alanine, and it's amino acid. So it's not like some crazy lab formulated compound. A lot of the athletes that take it, they think it's like the caffeine, and I'm like, well, no, if it was the caffeine, you'd feel that when you drink Red Bull or coffee or anything.
Yeah.
It's beta-alanine, and it's in a really high dose. You'd never really see that in food. You'd never get that effect. You'd have
you start itching while you're eating, like something's wrong with my Verduzco.
20 pounds of fish or something like that, and you would probably die at that point.
That would be just wild if everything was like making you itch or whatever. They're just like, oh, I'm a super athlete now. I'm itching because I'm just that powerful. Or, God, the pre-workout shits though. Like, give me a few minutes. Once I get that done, I'm able to like hone in and just get a solid lift. But I know it's coming every time.
So I don't know what that tends to be. It could be food coloring in pre-workouts that does that. I don't know if caffeine has any specific effect on that as well.
Coffee gets me every time.
Yeah, they still don't know why coffee does that. I think it's just acids or oils in it that.
Your body's like, what the fuck, man? What is this? Get it out of here.
But that beta alanine stuff is actually really beneficial for fast twitch development.
Mm-hmm.
Like I took that in high school for sprinting, and I can say it is really effective if you take it over a long period, like 6 weeks. It helps increase carnosine storage in your body, which is what we primarily use for like explosive sprints, you know. So
Is it cheating, would you say, if an athlete takes pre-workout, say a scoop of C4, chugs it, and then gets ready for their 400?
No,
Is that no? You're good?
No. And I think like taking beta alanine alone is something I would recommend over C4. Like there's actually no proof that caffeine necessarily helps short distance sprinters. There is some slight benefits for like distance runners because it helps them with their focus and concentration. For the most part, sprinters get too jittery off all the caffeine. And they freak out, and their heart rate's so high that they start to hold back. I know I did that once.
Oh, fuck. I don't know, like, it would kind of take my mind off of, like, okay, am I going to die, or is it time to race? Or just give people a beta-alanine and just let the placebo effect take hold. Okay, this is doing XYZ for me, even though it might not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. Placebo is crazy. That might be a podcast for another day of just the mind's control over what we're capable of. Didn't quite get to Wim Hof too much because it's time for the off-the-cuff section.
Off the cuff.
It's just 10 random questions.
10 random questions.
May or may not have anything to do. I'm trying to keep the podcast for like an hour these days because before I'd go in like 2 to 3 hour just randomness or whatever, and I don't know if I have the clout that Joe Rogan has to hold somebody's attention for 2 hours.
So, I mean, he's on mushrooms and weed and shit. He can do anything for like 5 hours and probably just keeps looking at the ceiling and getting some thoughts generated.
Absolutely. I like how inquisitive he is, and like just the sheer amount of guests he has. From Wim Hof, there was like a random guy that Skylar told me about, this Indian fellows talking about helping the earth and tilling soil more naturally because we're just killing it. We're killing the earth. Newsflash. That just overcropping, we're not taking care of the soil, it's taking care of us. So it's we'll get there. We'll be all right.
We'll be there.
We'll be all right. But so yeah, next, but we still have so much to talk about. Wim Hof, breathing. I wanted to get like more sports psychology, which I think we did, but we'll bookmark it. Bookmark it
for sure.
This won't be the last time we're on the pod. Fuck yeah,
sounds good.
So off the cuff. So what is your go-to order at Oceans?
Just straight chow mein. I love their chow mein.
Just like just a
beef chow mein. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I've never tried beef. I've only gone chicken chow mein.
I could smack down noodles, so I'd love to get a big thing of chow mein.
You a ramen fan at all? Like the thick ramen noodles, not the bag one that you microwave?
Yeah, I am. I like those a lot. They go hard.
Noodles are delicious. Delicious. And is chow mein Chinese spaghetti or is spaghetti Italian chow mein? Who's stolen from who? Because they're kind of, I feel like they're cousins. They're related.
I think China was around before Italy.
Or Italy.
Oh man, I don't know. Rome was in Italy, so I don't know. I would have to go.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna go with China with all the Chinese medicine I'm
Yeah.
into. I'm gonna say Italians took it.
There you go. Absolutely.
They can have their pizza.
Typical Italian. Yeah, keep your pizza. Keep the chow mein. If you could race against anybody, who would it be? Say a 400.
Oh, and a 400?
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
man.
a clone of yourself or something?
That would be cool.
Anybody.
Oh, man.
Winner gets to survive. It's only something you two know about.
Oh, shit, I'm going to pick someone I can beat.
Dr. Davis?
Nah.
What if he comes out of nowhere? He's just a savage on the
He'd probably beat me in an 800, though.
Yeah.
Man, who would I want to race? Yeah, I guess a clone of myself.
That'd be pretty sweet.
In college, I'd want to race my college self versus my high school self.
See where you're at now, comparatively. That'd be pretty cool. Or like, say on video games, you do a race, you're going against a ghost of like a past track, whatever, on Gran Turismo. That'd be sick to beat
might
yourself.
see that on the meta now, right?
Oh my god, the meta. Or shame the meta. The tap won't be on the meta. So usually I do on the off the cuff. There's always a one-on-one naked combat question. It's two people, two individuals, and then it's nothing but balls and brains, kind of like the old school wrestling from the Olympics. Just greased up. It's a fight to the death.
Okay.
Gandalf.
You have to be greased up.
That makes maybe not harder. Necessary, but that would add an extra little
that adds element a lot of strategic, equipment to it.
Let's go greaseless. Greaseless okay. For this one. We got Dumbledore versus Gandalf.
Gandalf?
Always, yeah. I like your stuff. Yeah. That a babe. I gotta go Gandalf as well.
Can't fight wisdom, bro.
You can't do it. Andy survives. Dumbledore doesn't survive.
No.
So that's saying something. Just because I've been listening to Harry Potter on audiobook the past couple weeks. Which house in Harry Potter are you going for when you go to Hogwarts?
Just to clarify, Dumbledore is the one with the big ass beard.
Yeah,
the big dude. I'm going to his. Yeah.
Going to his house. Well, there's Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff. One of those.
Hufflepuff. Probably got the herb up in there.
Yeah. Can you imagine like wizarding drugs? Dude. Next level, just they're lighting whatever at the tip of their wand. Or just
that's how meth heads around certain parts feel, you know.
Oh, they are literally at Hogwarts and just in San Francisco, you talk about the mind's power over the body of just where those unfortunate individuals think where they're at, or if they're schizophrenic, what have you. They're not on this planet. They're in a different reality.
They are. It's crazy. I mean, what someone can do with their mind, man, is nuts. Like those people that set themselves on fire and meditated.
Have you seen that monk from Vietnam? That is. I forget what band used that as like an album cover, but it's just that might be the.
Was it Rage Against the Machine?
I think so. Okay, yeah. Is that not the craziest photo you've ever seen?
There was more cases of that too. That's just a really famous one. People like that meditate for decades and decades and decades and just really reach a whole new world where a lot of the things we're used to just. Is kind of doesn't make much sense, you know. Just they're part of the universe.
He might even be like outer body. He might not even been there. His body, his vessel is taking it, and he's just kind of sitting there, like, well, kind of a spectral spirit. There's one class I took in college. It was cultural this and that. I forget the name, but there's this guy who came in. And he talked about this outer body experience he had when he was in college. He went to sleep, and then he was out, kind of floating over the town, and he went into this apartment building, and he saw his girlfriend cheating on him. And so the next day, they meet up, and he was so excited that he had that experience. He called her out. He's like, "Hey, this happened." She couldn't even deny it. She had no clue how he found out, what happened, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, we're done." He was just so juiced that he had that experience. He's like, "What the hell happened?" So he kind of embarked on this journey of just meditation and Zen-like mentality. But
that's crazy.
Have you ever had any kind of meditative kind of experience like that or anything? Yeah,
a lot of trippy ones. Just a lot of times in yoga, I think it's more accidental, not intentional, like where I'm like maybe in a cobra pose and like I accidentally hold my breath a little too locked up in that position, and like it just kind of for cool maybe 4 to 10 seconds it's just like you literally feel like you're hovering over your body. Not like I'm seeing any visuals or anything, just like it feels as if there's an entity above me that's part of me. I mean, you're like, and it also feels as if like just everything spins around me for a few seconds, and then I'm like back to it, and it's just like a crazy euphoria that follows with it. And plenty of times doing like the Wim Hof during the retention, I've felt some good experiences. One time at night, I was just like looking out at the moon and the clouds, and I think the shapes really did form, and I just was able to kind of see them in a certain way. But I was doing a ton of different breathing exercises like Breath of Fire, Wim Hof, slow breathing, long breath holds. And when I was doing just slow breathing, looking up at the clouds, I saw about 9 different shapes, and they were all animals. Like,
no shit.
One was a wolf, one was really like a werewolf, one was an elephant, one was a mouse, one was a deer, and then one was a bear, and then the rest I don't remember. But those specific ones I remember. I could see like signs in it too if I really want to make them up.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Like, I thought it was just trippy that this one cloud kept forming into 13 different things right in front of me.
It just kept morphing in front of you. And
Exactly.
You're just sitting there observing and being present with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is trippy. High on your own supply. It's just your breathing. And do you ever get self-conscious, say if you're around other people? Breath of Fire is just, it seems so violent almost. If anybody else is around, like, is this guy freaking out or something? Do you ever do it around other people, or usually just kind of on your own? Yeah.
I just breathe calmly throughout people. No one would probably notice it, but like, you know, most of the time I'm actually squeezing my stomach. Like my abs are tight right now, and there's no air in my body really right now. But when I let go of this, like I didn't try at all to breathe in. I just let go, and so a lot of the times the only type of breathing focus I have when I'm with people is just exhaling fully, getting all of it out, because we tend to hold some in, and then just relax, let it come back in, breathe into my stomach, and breathe through my nose. So I really try to monitor like mouth breathing, try to avoid that. But no specific breathing methods that I'm doing while I'm with people.
Are you like conscious of it, or is it just so natural at this point of just?
I'm conscious of it, yeah.
Holding in, and then because it's so many people I think are used to just going to the chest and that's it, but to feel it down here, to balloon up in your stomach, is more oxygen. How is there a difference between when we breathe in? I thought it all just went to our lungs, but you can definitely feel your diaphragm expanding. And if you put a conscious effort into it, I guess. Take a big, deep breath.
Absolutely.
Like, what is that? How are we able to breathe in our stomach rather than our lungs or chest?
A lot of different exercises. You know, in the beginning, I doubted myself if I actually did it right until I went to a yoga class and they, like, complimented the breath. And I was like, okay. I mean, it felt good, so I figured, but we have this way of doubting ourselves. One thing that helps a lot, I think the most helpful way is to lay on your back and you take a weighted object that's not like breakable, like maybe that small box there, or a remote or a wallet with a little sword. Don't stab yourself with it though. So if you lay on your back, your stomach will face gravity in the ceiling, and you get to just feel some slight bit more weight going against gravity versus how I'm sitting now. So that just gives you like awareness, like sensory proprioception. It gives you awareness through touch, and I usually put that object on there. It could be a yoga block or a weight. I'll use weights and do it too. But you just lay there and squeeze your stomach and get the air to go out, and then relax it, let it fill naturally. As it starts to run out, continue to push it like you're breathing deep into the hip area here, and then that's a really good way to bring awareness to it. And then that's something that I would do like 5 minutes a day just to get it down. It became more subconscious. I'll also take strings and I'll tie it around my stomach, like a piece of floss or yarn. So like I squeeze my stomach, I tie it fairly, loose, but that way every time I breathe I can feel it going into the string, and I'll notice the times that it doesn't, it starts to drop. So the big differences of why it's like better to breathe deep versus up here is when you breathe like this, you're using like a muscle. So the diaphragm is this big balloon-like structure that we want to be able to get to expand. So that's like a bag or a balloon. It's expansive. Your rib cage is like a box, so it's much more limited. It's not going to be able to keep expanding over time and stretch. So this gives you more kind of accessibility for a bigger breath. So when you breathe through your stomach, you now can squeeze it and get it all out, but you can now breathe deeper in. When I fill up down here, this pressure actually pushes my lungs up.
Really?
So this is what actually helps lift the lungs. And a lot of people, if they keep an open chest and just do that to their fullest ability with their stomach, it can start to hurt their lungs. It doesn't really hurt mine, but like in the beginning, especially with people that smoke, like it's going to be like, whoa, that kind of hurts a little, but it's almost like a good stretch.
Are we supposed to have our lungs raised?
It should be more like they collapse like this, whether through posture or chest breathing.
People's postures, I was going to say, are miserable these days.
And that's a hard one to try to, like that, you really just got to work on pulling your shoulders back and keeping your ribs open so they have more freedom. But when people breathe up in here all the time, whether it's through your nose or mouth, like that's where your heart is. So now you're kind of overwhelming it a little bit more. You're giving it more pressure than it needs to work with. You're making all the intercostal muscles, which are the inner rib muscles on the front, the sides, the back, scalenes, your traps, all those muscles now have to work. You have way more muscle involvement for just one breath. So they're all working. We have to shrug up. It's a big cause of neck tension and shoulder tension. So you have to work so much harder to breathe like this versus dropped, squeeze, breathing down and out, and then pushing in and up to put it out.
It is crazy how it's not just breathing. There's so much connected to it.
Yeah.
That is wild. I didn't even think about half the stuff you're saying.
And
Just
you also have
the effects
lower lung receptors of the nervous system. If you think about half of the bottom lungs being blue and the other half being red, like this is very stimulating and this is very calming. Like we literally release different endorphins by breathing on this half versus this half here. A lot of adrenaline. If someone takes 5 breaths into their chest and checks their heart rate and then does 5 into their stomach, it'll be significantly different. Also, when you get this in here, the muscle involvement from the abs and everything squeezing creates heat. Heat rises, like in everything in nature and science and chemistry. So now you're getting heat up through your lungs. That's going to help push phlegm and mucus out. Also increase circulation. Get some phlegm to move better up the throat and also the nose. So sometimes in yoga practices, there's a throat lock where you kind of like tuck your chin down. Sometimes it doesn't sound perfect, like there might be a little like raspiness in there, and that's just your throat making a small connection, not anything to worry about, but like it'll get smoother and smoother. One, it gives you auditory awareness, so now you really hear your breath in and out, and that helps people slow it down because they think they're breathing in 6 seconds and it's really 3. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 really fast. And then closing off your epiglottis and your throat area makes an even tighter hole. So now you're getting even more heat concentration in the back of the throat and the nose. So pretty cool stuff.
It's hard to, because I was doing all right with like a YouTube kind of yoga routine, and at one point, of course, fell off. But the gal had us breathe in for like 3 seconds, out 3 seconds, and got all the way up to like 8, which is to inhale for 8 seconds. You have to put it in the gut, and it was just. And then exhaling for that amount of time, and hearing kind of like, this is so much longer than how we count in our head when we're breathing or trying to do it.
Yeah.
It's just, and then asking people to spend 5 minutes a day to improve themselves. Like you literally lay down at lunch and then spend the 25 rest of the minutes doing it, like breathing exercises, because our phones, we need to be on our phones. Why would we breathe into our diaphragm when we can be on our phones?
Right.
Yeah, very good. And what is your favorite gym exercise, would you say?
Gym exercise specifically, probably cleans.
Some cleans?
Yeah.
Deadlifting through and through. It's clean. So clean is just getting it up to here.
Yeah, specifically like
that's a jerk.
That's a jerk. Yeah. So a power clean is when you catch the bar like this and your hip is anywhere from the knee and above. So you're really just trying to get the bar to travel higher with a lot of force. A clean is when you actually jump under and catch it. Like, and you drop under the bar and you catch it in a full squat, like full knee bend, and then stand up. So I definitely like that clean.
You ever skin your shins a little bit, just the bars? You got some scars, do you?
Nothing too bad today. I mean, just like these are from box jumps. That one was from like, I don't know, a decade ago. You could like see the bone a little bit. So not
just didn't get all the way up.
Yeah.
That is just, shin hits are just the worst.
I like it though a little bit when I'm deadlifting heavy. Like gets you a little pissed off, gets you fired up for that heavy
Hell
set.
yeah. There's somebody just. You ever see the guys that they're about to pump their guy up and just smack the shit out of their back? And I would just.
That was kind of me. I like getting slapped on the back right
a little bit,
lifting, or cold water, just something that really jars the adrenaline.
What about those little? It's like ammonia,
yeah.
It just looks like they're losing their goddamn mind.
I've been doing those at parties. Love those.
Right before a beer pong shot or something.
Yeah. No, ammonia is pretty intense. Yeah, we actually we found a few, and we were all like doing them before a dance one time in high school. We're like, yeah. But yeah, people do those. Like anybody that's done just one ammonia salt, like that's strong, and they'll put 20 in a bottle, shake it, and just. it opens up your nose. You feel like it's bleeding, and you are just so goddamn awake. If you're not used to it, though, it can make you pass out, so it's not
I feel
necessarily
like I would
always
pass
helpful.
the opposite effect of what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Like wake up. The computer was like screwing up there for a second, so hopefully people are able to put it together. Nothing a little editing can't do. All right. Oh, okay. Here's one. If you were a medieval executioner, what would be your specialty killing, so to speak? You an axe guy? You like bash him on the head with a bonking stick? You make him go to track practice, just run 400 till you're done?
Oh, dude, I got that Viking in my bloodline, so I'm gonna have to be the Blood Eagle.
Bloody. Oh, are you a Vikings fan?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's another podcast. Just that Blood Eagle. Oh my god, I could not imagine.
Someone's got to
like
really
that.
deserve that, though.
Absolutely, Epstein. If he didn't, if he was gonna hang himself, I mean, at least Blood Eagle himself. Like, make it worth it.
You can do it yourself,
I feel I would not be able to make it if I ever got Blood Eagle. I'm screaming, I'm squealing, I'm going down.
It.
Dude, no, I'd be like, just take the axe to my face or something. Blood Eagle, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so a demigod arrives and they say, cook me your best dish, and if it displeases the demigod, then mankind is wiped out. So you're cooking. What's your go-to dish? What's something that you're just the best at? You're gonna please this demigod.
Man,
Chicken and brown rice.
I feel like some gods are gonna love some liver.
Some liver, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's what the alphas eat. It's what the leader of the tribe eats first. The most nutrient-dense source.
Eating it raw, or you?
Oh, I cook my meats.
Cook it up a little bit.
I'll eat it raw sometimes just to test my stones, but I do it cooked preferably.
My stones are too tiny to eat it raw. That's wild. It's some raw meat.
I think I would include some of that. I would make them some lovely guac. Cilantro, avocado, onions, lime. Because who doesn't love guac? If you don't like guac, I don't like you.
Some chips on it or anything like that, or
just
nachos.
Probably not. I'll just give them some steak, eggs, liver, and then some guac on the side to put on the steak. I'll give them some
guac on steak. I've
yeah,
never tried that before.
Dude, really good.
Yeah,
really good. Do a little chipotle or Tex-Mex style on the steak, and then guac dip in it.
You a spicy guy at all? You like a little spice on your steak?
Yeah, I do a little bit. There's some things I like buffalo style spices, but I don't like that ghost pepper shit. That's too much.
I never really tried. That's a little too spicy for me.
I don't find any flavor in it either.
Sriracha is probably something I'm like. That's a go-to on lunch, like chicken or whatever. Just adds just enough, lets me know it's there, but it's not gonna destroy me. A little spice, I think, go a long way.
I think salsa is really healthy for you too. Like all the salsas we have at all our local restaurants, like that's good shit. It's like a smoothie.
Absolutely, yeah. Makes a little Mexican smoothie. It's better than, because I don't have ketchup nearly as often. I used to only have ketchup on my eggs, but it's just been salsa. But when I do go back to ketchup, just the sugar overload. I'm like, holy crap! Like, what's in this shit? It's straight sugar and tomatoes. What was your best subject in high school? What was your go-to?
Weights. Definitely say that. I really liked Stark's class though. He had some
psychology.
Not psychology. I didn't get to do that. I just liked his history class. That was cool.
Yeah, I like Stark a lot.
I like getting to debate and all that stuff and just learn interesting topics. So I'd say that one was probably my favorite. I wasn't that good in science. Math, I was all right.
Were you solid in front of the class presentations with the group, just pointing out stuff on the poster you guys put together?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
I remember back in high school, I was pretty much a mouth breather all the time. So like, I remember when I got up in there, I would be all nervous and like, my breath would be like limited and locked up and shit.
All in the chest. You're not doing it well enough. All right. What you kind of answered this one earlier. I was gonna say, what is your book recommendation for anybody? Number one,
I got a lot.
The breath one. Do you have a couple and like rattle them off?
Shit, I'll probably name at least 10. So, The Breath by James Nestor, and there's more to the title than just The Breath, but I forget the rest. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. The Mind by Yogi Bhajan. He's got some interesting history to him.
Sounds like a guy with a huge wiener.
Yogi Bhajan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's gotten into some shit. I won't compliment him too much, but I think his description of yoga is like, damn, dude, and the mind in general.
Spot on.
He and then what else? Let's see. The Art of Worldly Wisdom by
Art of Worldly Wisdom.
And this is by a guy named Baltasar Gracian, and this guy lived in 15 or 1600 Spain, España.
España?
And back then, it's actually kind of got similarities to modern times. It's a very advanced society. They have a strong military, strong leadership. People are free. There's economic classes. So I find a lot of the stuff he says in that still really true. My favorite quote from that, it's a snippet of one. The envious person dies not once, but as often as their rivals live in applause.
Ooh.
So when I heard that, I was like, damn.
That's why it's good not to be a hater. It's good to, like, just to, I hate to keep going back to Ruggan, but what his mindset or his parents of truly being grateful. When somebody turns up, when somebody succeeds, be grateful for them. Be happy that they're succeeding. Because what kind of friend are you if, say, your buddy or someone's succeeding and you're sitting there silently, like, in the back of your mind, you're like, fuck this guy, why isn't it me? Like, you're a dick. Like, it's be so much better to just be truly happy for them.
Yeah.
And that's a little more freeing, I'd say. You did mention Bruce Lee earlier. One of the quotes I love from him is just be water.
Be water, my friend.
Yeah.
Flow. I love actually sitting by bodies of water to really observe that saying in its act, you know, like watching it flow. It can freeze, it can be solid, it can move, it can carve through rock with persistency. Just yeah, it's a great element to try to embody.
It'll go around it, but sooner or later that rock is gone. No, I love that. Any fiction books?
Fiction
Anything
books.
silly?
I actually don't read any fiction books. I only read stuff that's like in relation to the body. Like I read a bunch of stuff about Zen proverbs, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. That's like my main stuff. I like to just kind of learn with it. There's this other book called Boundless by Ben Greenfield. That's like you got to be really geeked out on fitness stuff if you read that book for sure. Man, other than that, actually, there's another small book I got at the Davis Library. It's called the Yoga Bible. At first, I'm like, what is this shit really? And it's actually pretty cool. It gives a really good short description of like the 8 limbs of yoga, the 8 laws and principles and stuff like that, the origin of yoga and how it was practiced and whatnot. And so that was
more appreciation for it. That book better not be hardcover. It better be soft.
It's like this small. And yeah, it's like foldable.
All right, I like that.
Yeah, you fit it in your backpack. And that's it for books, I think.
Those are solid recommendations. Just helping the self, help the soul, and just because out and around here we got peacocks, we got quails, I got ravens up there. This badass birds. What is your favorite bird? For the ultimate off the cuff question.
I think bald eagles are pretty damn cool.
They're solid. How can you beat a turkey gobble though? See about like. They're just so silly, and
turkeys are pretty damn cool too. I see so many on the back roads, like just straight up gangs and mobs of turkeys.
They're all over. Like in Vacaville, even in town, I've seen a couple peacocks just walking down the street. What are you guys doing here? This ain't your hood.
I just like to picture what they're thinking and saying, like, you remember that first pilgrim? Huh? What's up?
Turkeys are pretty good. Any like smaller birds? They're like hawks or bald eagle. Like,
I guess probably my favorite is close between a peregrine falcon, the fastest bird on Earth, the fastest animal on Earth, and
when it's dive bombing, just
and a bald eagle, just 'cause America.
Because America.
Small birds though, finches are pretty cool. I like colorful birds. So like, there's this one finch that's like all black and just got this vibrant red spot around here. Those ones are cool.
Little hummingbirds too.
That's a powerful color.
80, I think, flaps a second. Hummingbirds.
Oh wait, no, I take it back. Hummingbird.
Hummingbird.
Yeah, I'll do a hummingbird.
They're fucking like, solid. They're shiny. Pheasants too are like their tails. There's some dope ass birds out there.
They like really hummingbirds really vibrate your ears. I feel like that's like some Tibetan bowl type stuff right there. Like,
it's gotta be. Of just I don't know. How could something so small be so powerful to just hover, go backwards, forwards? It's nature just doesn't give a shit.
Like, that was the first helicopter.
Pretty much. About quails. Are you a quail fan?
Oh, yeah, I love quails. Quails are cool.
It's like they're sprinting, and it's like, I can fly. Fuck you guys. Get out of here.
I forget they can fly, too, yeah.
Then every so often out here, shout out Lake Solano, we get some pelicans. Like 6 big, beefy motherfuckers out there just chomping them up. You can see their dangling necks. They're huge.
I saw one in this creek catch a fish.
Really?
That's like,
they're massive.
That was rare to see for here. I've never seen a bird catch a fish out here.
They're not around here often, but it's out here, walking around like the park and everything, there's a lot of wildlife. It's dope, so let's hopefully keep it green.
Right.
But until the next time, I definitely feel like we have a lot more to talk about.
Absolutely.
Mind, body, soul, yoga, Wim Hof. We'll get to it. But sir, thank you for coming on. I
Absolutely,
appreciate the
bro.
knowledge. Spitting
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, everybody. Go watch WHS, track and field, then football. Absolutely. Let's
Yes,
get after
sir.
it. But
Have a great day, everyone.
You lose! Good day, sir!